Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope you're doing lovely on this Sunday morning. Man, I picked a good night. I told you I wasn't going to get you to the recap last night, and I think there would have been 3 people who wanted to watch that right after a game anyway. The Miami Heat really got the doors blown off them by the Sacramento Kings. They lose 127-111, and it wasn't even that close. Zach LaVine decided to walk into the Kaseya Center and just light the entire thing on fire. 42 points against the Miami Heat. Coming in off the Miami Heat coming in. Well, let's get the excuses out of the way for the Miami Heat right away. No Davion Mitchell, no Tyler Herro, no Pelle Larsson. They were all out with injury. So you went with a starting lineup that had Drew Smith in Davion's spot. Khalil Ware started with Bam, Wiggins, and Norman Powell. And the Miami Heat were coming in on the second night of a back-to-back while the Kings got to kind of kick up their feet for a couple of days. But they did not have Domantas Sabonis. I got to be honest with you. I don't even like the dude Maxime Renaud. I was like, whoa, who is like? So I guess he's a rookie. He's kind of like they're doing with Charlotte. So I don't know who that young guy was that was in there, but they did not come in here with like a boatload of size to start the game. It was like Keegan Murray with Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, but Zach LaVine was just unfriggin' stoppable and was 8 of 13 from downtown in this game. That was 1 less 3 than the Miami Heat had as a team yesterday. And I got to be honest with you, it really felt like, I don't know if the Heat thought they were going to sleepwalk in it. I caught most of the second half, and I really felt like once LaVine got it going again, the Heat just kind of waved the white flag. Like they just didn't have it in them to have any big time comeback. And that second quarter, like once again, kind of reminiscent of last year, was just like got the doors blown off them and really, couldn't work their way back from a tough second quarter where nobody was really defending. And so, from the standpoint of yesterday's game, it was kind of the second half where Spo was just like, am I going to put Bam back out there? I'm going to put Norman back there. He kind of let Fontecchio work some things out and got his shot going a little bit. So that was kind of one piece of good news is Fontecchio, who had been in a real bad slump, got to at least see the ball go through the hoop. I think he tried to do the same thing with Jovic. And Nico's just, he's just got to get his mojo back. I mean, the guy's just throwing the ball all over the place. He was doing the thing where he got physical. He started the second half with Jaime Jaquez Jr. too. He went out there and he decided to yank Khalil out of the starting line and put Jaime. And I always feel like this is going to be the thing where you feel like the brunt of criticism is going to go to the young man with Ware. And yeah, this game was a far cry from the 20-18 that we saw a little over a week ago. But I think it's a collective. Spo saying, he said after the game today, no juice in the team. I don't know. I don't know why there wouldn't be juice. For me, from my standpoint, it's a wholly disappointing week. I don't think the Miami Heat, this should sit well with them at all with how they're playing basketball. Like, I wanted them to come into this week 3-1, and they walk out of it 1-3. And you do it with an absolute dump like this. It looked like everybody on that team was more interested in going to Art Basel than they were playing basketball. And to honor Art Basel, they all played defense like a bunch of statues, just watching everybody do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And I heard Norm after the game, and Norm's like, well, we could easily be 3-1. And respectfully to Norman Powell, like, listen, loved what you've done for this team, and your season has been fantastic so far. I got to be honest with you, dude. I don't feel like you've been on the front foot of any of these games. Front foot, like I'm sitting here watching soccer for a week. I really don't, though. I don't feel like Miami has come and these last 3 games, Miami hasn't dictated the terms of any of these games. Yeah, they've gotten themselves back into the games. They had furious comebacks against the Magic. They made it look decent against the Mavericks. But in both of those games, you got caught with your pants down, and you've had to work your way up. I don't understand what is going through his mind there. I mean, listen, he's a tremendously confident man, but I couldn't disagree more. I think that you get a game where, yeah, maybe this feels different if you're able to get one against the Magic, who's a division rival. Um, but Miami, after winning 6 straight, has now lost 4 out of 5. Um, and the only team that they've beat is probably the only team in the league that's a bigger laughingstock than the one you just lost to right now. And that's only because the names are bigger and the scandals are funnier. But this is, the Miami Heat today, I think, expected to walk into Kaseya Center and get themselves an easy win, and they just didn't, and so they didn't work for it. I think they just expected a team, but look, Zach LaVine is a polarizing player, but the guy's a former All-Star and is an absolute professional scorer. DeMar DeRozan, the same thing. I like Keegan Murray a lot. I do. These aren't exactly like bums, but their team as a concoction has been awful. And it just felt like today Miami looked for every excuse in the book as to why this happened. And yeah, but there are themes that have been happening, like the defensive struggles that have not led to, the most cohesive offense lately. These have been issues. Miami has not shot the ball well. And that's especially, I mean, except for the outlier game of the week where they were able to break a record, like they used all of their juice to the Clippers game, which, by the way, was a blowout, but also even had, like, you had to put the starters back in to put the nail in the coffin. So I think they're off today, and then I think they're back at practice on Monday. And then they get ready for the NBA Cup. So this is the thing with Miami, is they're going into this week where there's a little bit of unknown. Like, they could beat the Magic and then head off into Vegas. We don't know if Tyler's going to be back. Hopefully Davion and Pellis thing aren't long term. I would imagine this is more precautionary to keep them out. But it's so funny how fast it can flip, because, like, from getting into the NBA Cup, it hasn't gone the smoothest. Like, look, I'm not gonna rip them for losing to the Pistons. That was a good game. They were also able to get themselves back into furiously. I think that's the other thing, is Miami's got to figure out some kind of way to get off into better starts, because it just feels like they're always finding their way late, which suggests that they could tap into some of this stuff defensively a little bit earlier. But they haven't been able to, and they just didn't. You could just tell, like, it was a team that just didn't want to dig it out last night. They just didn't have it in them. Zach LaVine had a part of that. There's no doubt about that. And what are the final shooting numbers end up last night? Yeah, I mean, Miami ended up shooting what looks decent, but it was mostly Simone Fontecchio and some Nikola Jovic threes, and the thing was over already. They had 6 of the Heat's 9 threes. The starting group yesterday, 1 of 6, 1 of 7, 2 of 12, and 2 of 13. Yeesh. 2 of 13 from the starters from downtown yesterday. Yowzas. Not great. Yeah, in another game, they're just leaving a ton of free throws on the floor. Like, this probably wouldn't have made the difference, but that's another game. The Heat's free throw shooting has also stunk. They got to get a lot of that stuff figured out. Not a night where Bam really made much of an impact on this either. But then, Spo only played him 25 minutes. Spo made the choice pretty much in that midst of that third quarter where he goes, like, I'm not putting my guys back out there. They're very clearly burnt out. It's very embarrassing who it happened to. And it is what it is. This is a little bit of they're back in the play-in now. They've lost 3 straight. They're 14-10, and you wonder. I think everybody's wondering, like, is the party over on offense? It's tough to know. I mean, even look, the guys gave nod. Like even Norm brought up Tyler last night, and he goes, "Listen, we could have people were keen on me. We could have used Tyler last night." Um, again, this is one of those things where with the whole hero thing, everybody's been ready to write the definitively after saying that they don't need Tyler Herro, and I just think that that was a little bit because I just think that we got to see how it all works because you're going to have your ebbs and flows through the season. There's going to be times where you're going to need a guy of his scoring talent. I understand it. I'm not, I understand why that narrative has been put out there and why it's a thing. I understand over Tyler Herro's career where there's been surges when he's been out and that they got to, they got to hide him on defense. Sure. And this, I don't know if the issue is more offense or defense right now. It feels just a little bit of both. They're just not playing as crisp as they did earlier on in the year, and some of the better defensive teams have figured some things out. But this one kind of felt like a culmination of the week, and it shows you can kind of get bit by anybody. And so, yeah, Miami's got to look at themselves in the mirror and get this thing right to lose a game like this with no Sabonis on the Kings, even though I think he's a bum. I think that they got to use these 48 hours to kind of get some things straightened out. And then we'll see what this NBA Cup brings because, again, it's going into a little bit of a hazy week for Miami with the NBA Cup. If they win, they go to Vegas. If they don't, they take on the loser of Kings and Raptors, and we'll see where that all ends up lying for Miami. But that was a that was a real stinker from that standpoint. And they brought up that they were asked about not having Davion out there. Look, I get it. You don't want to miss Davion Mitchell. Davion Mitchell has absolutely been in a lot of ways the heartbeat of the Miami Heat. But should he be the difference in not having a this is the thing. It's not like Miami lost to the Kings. They weren't really competitive with the Kings. Like they basically they got the doors blown off them in the second. They had a double-digit deficit, and then basically you walked into that third quarter, you got hit with a couple more haymakers, and you put some lipstick on the pig. You made it look respectable, but not really. And so, okay, yeah, Davion Mitchell. I'm all for, hey, Davion Mitchell's the head of the snake and all that, but man, it didn't even feel like Miami wanted to put up a fight tonight, other than Simone and Jaime. But too little, too late for Miami. So they got some soul searching to do after all the flowers. And look, Miami's gotten a lot of flowers from everybody. They've gotten a lot of praise. They've gotten the fan base excited. They got the fan base juiced up. Maybe this whole Giannis thing has gotten everybody a little and detect, is this what we really want? I don't know. Has it affected any of the young guys who are already thinking about it? Kalel hasn't had like the greatest week in the world. It was certainly not a performance. His coach certainly called him out the last couple of times. The duo of him and Bam together not working. Then he left it in the second half. So I don't know. There's a lot of questions that we have. But Miami's they got to get this fixed right because they've used some bullets on that record and they got to work their way back. I mean, the Celtics are kind of surging right now. They're looking up at a lot of teams in the East all of a sudden after being third just at the start of last week. So they got to get a lot of things right. Got to get a lot of things settled out. All right, enjoy your Art Basel. Looks like you guys wanted to start early. So hopefully the wine, the cheese, and the art was fantastic. And, you have a nice day of rest, get back to practice, and they can get things kind of reset in the NBA Cup game.